got staph.
Yes.
What was that whole experience like?
Oh, it was gnarly. And like, that is the only word that I can use to describe it. I got MRSA right next to my spine. So for about, I went to Outside Lands and had the best time. I came back and I'm like, like I have this weird feeling in my back. And I was getting sick. I was like having a lot of stomach issues. And I was running a low-grade fever, which is not normal for me because I'm a high-grade fever gal. So going back and forth to the doctor, nothing's wrong, blood tests being done. I'm at CAA at the time, so I can't really, like, I'm sprinting to my doctor, who just so happened to be across the street from the office, thank goodness, during my lunch hour, trying to figure out what was going on. All the while, this bump on my back was growing. So about 2 weeks in, I was like, Mom, I feel so awful. I don't know what's going on. Something is not right, and it's starting to affect me like in every which way. I feel it in my bones. So again, luckily, my family just is like, hop to. Yeah. So my mom's like, great, let me send a photo of this to my friend who happened to be a surgeon. And he was like, come here 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. I was relieved because at least somebody understood the urgency of what was going on. And he took me in the office, put me on a table, numbed my back, and just carved it out.
Holy crap.
So I was awake. My mom was right there holding my hand. And
How big was it?
It was the size of like a super large quarter, like a silver dollar, I guess, and then about a quarter size thick.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think he said 14 feet of gauze into my back because he couldn't close the hole.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really fun. And I had to go on a medication, but I'm allergic to sulfa and soy. And the top 10 staph medications all have sulfa in them. So I had to take
What's sulfa?
Sulfa is just like what's that thing in the chemistry? Periodic table. Something in the periodic table.
Or table, is that what it's called?
I think
Table
so.
of elements?
It's one of those two things.
This USC education really paying off for us.
Clearly, I said I was smart earlier, I swear.
Sulfa's in everything.
Sulfa's in a lot of medicines. I learned when I was younger, I took Robitussin and I just broke out in hives from my head to my toe. And something kind of clicked with me in this one moment when I found out I was allergic, because I was like, I don't care if I get hives, just give me the best medicine. And the doc said, no, if you're getting hives on the outside, just imagine what it's doing to you on the inside. And no one had explained it to me like that before. And that was a big aha moment for me, even though I was hopped up on painkillers and had a hole in my back. So 2 months later, I was on bed rest the whole time, healing, trying to get through. My boss again at CA was a major lifesaver and the most understanding human, and was just like, take your time. So I did. I healed all the way up, but the whole time I didn't realize at the moment when I was on the table, but the staph had spread. So I had staph on my face, I had staph attacking my stomach and my bowel, like every part of me. I was getting ill for those 2 months straight. And that was my turning point, I guess.
How did you clear out the staph in your face and everywhere else?
So I had to be on antibiotics. There was no way of getting around that. Or at least at the time, I didn't think there was any way, because it was so severe and I wasn't willing to take time to figure it out. Yeah. And that's not necessarily the best thing to say, but when you have something that's MRSA and it's right next to your spine, which takes every fluid up and down your body, you're like, just heal me quick and then I'll figure it out. But unfortunately, for the 2 years afterwards, I was totally flipped upside down. My insides, my gut, I had leaky gut, I had adrenal fatigue, I had all these keywords that are popping up now.
Did you ever get C. diff?
No. What is that?
It's this, you get it from antibiotics, and it is basically a flesh-eating bacteria in your stomach, and people die from it. I got it last year. It's really scary.
Oh man.
And then they have to put you on more antibiotics to kill it. it's very dangerous. But when you're on that many antibiotics and your body's that shut down, I just figured you probably had gotten it.
Terrifying.
That's good you did it.
I'm sorry that you
No,
did.
it's okay.
Antibiotics
More people
are
need to
crazy.
know about it, because
Yes.
those things, the antibiotics cause so many problems, like the leaky gut. They just completely crush your microbiome, and you don't even know that's happening.
Absolutely. That is terrifying, and I will be thinking about that a
Yeah.
lot for the rest of the day. So antibiotics, the worst. Also on unnecessary antibiotics,
Right.
because they couldn't figure out why my stomach was, so upset the whole time. But I mean, it was an obvious thing. My body was going through a major trauma, and it was affecting every function. So I started my healing journey after I quit CAA. And that meant going to see a lot of functional doctors, reading a lot. I was hyper aware of everything around me. Like, even if someone was sick, because my immune system was so low, I could have picked anything up, even from, 5 feet away. So, I don't know, it was just like a very wow. It was a wow moment for me, and I'm so happy it happened. I would never change the way that my story has gone so far. And even though it was scary and confusing and a little terrifying, even though those are the same words.
That's okay. It could be scary and terrifying.
Yeah, scarifying. It was
Scarifying.
real scarifying.
What were those first moments like when you decided to make the change and you started to look into functional medicine and more of a holistic path?
My godparents knew this functional doctor who I've talked to you about, and I knew little by little because I had been to an Eastern doctor when I was in high school. I, had seen shaman and have done like the spiritual healing that way, and have gone through different routes of the Eastern way. But he really took me to the extreme. I was on a lot of pills, and that made me uncomfortable too. Because even though I knew they were, a thyroid pill that had been formulated from sweet potatoes and this, that, or the other, I was like, it makes me feel uncomfortable that I'm taking 12 bottles of pills a day. Yeah. However, I committed to it because I believed in him, and I still do believe in what he does because I think he's fabulous. And he got me back on track, because part of what I went through with the staph was I gained an incredible amount of weight. My hormones were so off. I couldn't do anything the way I had known how to do it before. So I was relearning my body. I was my own science experiment. Yep. So I trusted him, and I'm glad that I did, because he got me back on track. And I've since kind of reversed the pill intake, which is nice. And I go to acupuncture every week, which Keiko is my guru, my life guru, which she knows and I think feels uncomfortable about.
It's okay. I've stolen her now for myself. I'm seeing her an hour after this interview, so.
I saw her this morning.
Yeah, she's the best.
Yeah.
We'll share her.
Yes, I love sharing her. She's wonderful. What else? I tried to get my hands on every book, every piece of knowledge that I could get on the internet, and just see people who had gone through or were going through healing journeys and what helped them. So that means something so different for everyone. And that's a big point to make, because if I listen to your healing journey, it might not work for me, and then that might frustrate me. Yep. But what you have to realize is you have to take in this knowledge and then tap into yourself. And go back to how people used to do it. And it's like, what is my body telling me? What does it need? Does it need more water? Am I dehydrated? You can do the finger test or whatever it is. Or, do I need red meat, or do I need yada, yada, yada? And it's been really cool trying to figure out what my body's formula is. And I think I've learned it, even though it's changing constantly.
Of course.
Yeah.
Where would you say your intuition was when you were younger, as opposed to where it was when you were going through this transition, and how you had to tap into it?
My intuition when I was younger was go to Rite Aid with all of my allowance and buy Big League Chew, the sour straws, all the chocolate I could get my hands on, and basically not eat any real food. So I would say it's developed quite a bit since then.
I'm proud of you. Although I really like all the things you just mentioned, so I understand the struggle is real.
It is really real. I've found my way to get around it with certain healthy versions of my old candy phases. But I mean, I also struggled a lot as a child with stomach aches, and I had crippling anxiety, and they were all tied together, and with my eating, and I was always on an antibiotic because I was always sick because I was only eating candy and all of these things. But now I realize that that's not necessarily the way I should be doing things.